Welcome to this explainer. Look, have you ever opened up your Social Security statement, stared at that final dollar amount, and just thought, how on earth did they actually come up with this number? We've all been there. It's a question practically everyone asks at some point. So today, we're going to completely demystify this seemingly opaque calculation process. And I promise you, we're going to do the whole thing without relying on a single drop of confusing government jargon. By the time we wrap up, you'll know exactly how your benefit is calculated. And much more importantly, you'll discover the absolute truth behind how your claiming age permanently alters your financial future. Okay, let's dive into this with a highly logical 6-step roadmap. 1. Unlocking your benefit number. 2. Finding your highest earnings. 3. The monthly average formula. 4. The progressive benefit staircase. 5. The truth about claiming age. And finally, 6. Smarter retirement decisions. Let's kick things off with Section 1. Unlocking your benefit number. I want you to think of this baseline calculation as the literal engine of your retirement benefit. It's the core machinery that powers your ultimate payout. But how exactly is that engine built? It's completely valid to be confused when looking at your statement. Do they just use your final salary before retiring? Do they average absolutely everything together from your very first summer job at 16? For most of us, it just feels like a total black box. But here is the secret that's going to completely reframe how you look at this. Your final payout isn't just some random calculation of your past. It's actually a baseline number that gets radically altered by the strategic timing of when you claim. Your claiming age is the ultimate multiplier here, and understanding the math leading up to it, well, that's the absolute key to maximizing your money. Moving right along to Section 2, finding your highest earnings. So let's get into the actual math. First, we have to figure out what income actually counts toward your retirement. Picture your entire working career as just one giant file folder. The government gathers every single year of your covered earnings and drops them right into this folder. Covered earnings simply means the income from your career that was specifically subject to Social Security payroll taxes. If you earned money that wasn't taxed for Social Security, that income generally doesn't go in the folder. It's just the taxed years. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the fairest parts of the whole system, wage indexing. Let's say you earned 20 grand back in 1985, complete with the shoulder pads and big hair, right? Well, $20,000 doesn't have nearly the same buying power today. If the government compared that directly to a modern 2025 salary, it wouldn't be fair at all. So, they index your older earnings. They mathematically convert those old dollars into today's dollars, meaning early workers aren't penalized simply because of decades of inflation. Now pay close attention to this next part because this is exactly where a lot of people get tripped up. The government selects strictly your highest 35 earning years, not your first 35 years, not your last 35 years. Literally only your highest 35 years, after they adjust for that wage growth we just talked about. If you had a super long career and worked for, say, 40 years, here's the really good news. Your lowest 5 years just vanish completely. They're entirely dropped from the calculation. But what happens if you work for less than 35 years? This surprises so many people. If you only worked for 30 years, the government still absolutely requires 35 years for the math to work. So they fill those missing 5 years with literal zeros. And just like in grade school, having a bunch of zeros is going to heavily drag down your overall average. This is exactly why working just a few extra years near retirement can sometimes give a massive boost to your check. You are literally knocking those zeros right out of the equation.
All right, Section 3, the monthly average formula.
Now that we've gathered and adjusted your 35 best years, we need to condense those decades of work into one single monthly figure. To do this, they add up the total sum of those highest 35 years, and they divide it by 420. Why 420? Because that happens to exactly be the total number of months in a 35-year span. Makes sense, right? The result you get from that division is called your AIME, or Average Indexed Monthly Earnings. Now, please, do not stress over this acronym. You absolutely do not need to memorize it. All you need to understand is that this number represents your adjusted average monthly earnings over your entire working life. It's the core starting point, your baseline for calculating your actual retirement check. But hold on, we aren't done yet. Which brings us to Section 4, the progressive benefit staircase.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that you don't just get your AIME as a direct check. Notice how the government applies that monthly average to a descending staircase. See, Social Security is designed to replace a larger percentage of income for lower-income workers and a smaller percentage for higher-income workers. The first portion of your average earnings gets the highest replacement rate. the next chunk gets a lower rate, and the final chunk gets the lowest rate. This layered staircase calculation is exactly why two people with vastly different salaries might actually end up with fairly similar Social Security checks.
When your earnings go through that staircase, it spits out your PIA, or primary insurance amount. Again, toss the jargon out the window. Just know that this is your standard baseline benefit. This is the exact dollar amount you're going to receive if you claim at your full retirement age, right before you make the single biggest financial decision of your retirement.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 5, the truth about claiming age.
We have arrived at the absolute climax of this explainer, the truth behind claiming age. We built the engine, now it's time for you to grab the steering wheel. This is the most powerful multiplier you can actively control. Just look at this timeline. If you choose to claim as early as age 62, your monthly benefit is permanently shrunk. You'll receive smaller checks, albeit for a longer stretch of time. If you claim exactly at your full retirement age, you get your standard benefit, no reductions, no bonuses. But if you delay claiming up to age 70, your benefit substantially increases every single year you wait. By delaying, you can drastically supercharge your monthly payments for the rest of your life. That is the real power of claiming age.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, Smarter Retirement Decisions.
Understanding these levers completely changes the game. First, let's just rapid-fire debunk some incredibly persistent myths right now. Your benefit is not based on your final salary. It's definitely not an average of every single year you ever worked. Having one massive earning year right before you retire doesn't magically double your benefit. It really just replaces one of your lower years. And finally, Social Security is absolutely not a flat amount for everyone. It is highly individualized based on your unique history.
So, the crucial point is that this system isn't random at all. It's 6 highly logical steps. 1, they gather your taxed earnings. 2, they adjust older years for wage growth. 3, they strictly select your highest 35 years. 4, they average those down into months. 5, they apply that progressive staircase formula. And 6, they adjust that baseline figure permanently based on your claiming age.
Once you finally see the math laid out like this, the mystery just fades away, doesn't it? It leaves you with incredible control over your own financial future. Because your claiming age really is the ultimate multiplier. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Based on your unique 35-year earnings history and knowing exactly how this multiplier works, when is the genuinely smartest age for you to claim? Take a fresh look at your statement today, because knowing the true formula can change your lifelong income forever.